Welcome back, everybody, and this is Anime Talks. It's your host, Jordan, and of course, this has been a long awaited episode here, and we'll be covering ReZero Season 1. What I mean, this show is crazy. It's been a while since I've been able to have the same feeling like summertime rendering, and this is it. Like, you just can't get any better than this. Of course, there's some irks and quirks about it that I really don't care for, but it's okay. We'll make it through it, and let's get straight to it. So in ReZero, we follow the main character of Subaru Natsuki, and he is very, very whiny. I'll just start off with the negative with him. He is super whiny. If you didn't like Asta from Black Clover, you're probably not going to like him. He's super whiny, super annoying, but he has like a really good charm about him. And he's just a very interesting individual, to say the least. He has his hot moments, especially in later seasons. But as far as this season 1 goes, you really kind of like not like him. You sympathize for him more than anything, as far as like him as a character. But we follow Subaru Natsuki as we see him enter a convenience store at the beginning, and he's just doing a little bit of shopping, and next thing you know, he wakes up in a new world, like typical isekai, right? And there's like stuff leading to it, but I don't want to spoil that. But he's in a new world of Lugunica, and he is pretty much mesmerized and like kind of just out there. And sadly, there's like a bunch of letdowns at the beginning because it's a really slow pacing anime. It does have his ramp ups as far as like getting there, and then like once you get like the parts you need, you're interested and want to know what's going to happen next. But we do see he is plagued with a death mechanic, which is pretty cool, and it is later dubbed "Return by Death." But he is able to have a butterfly rewind effect, pretty much, to where he messes up something, boom, dies, comes back, restarts at some type of save point, and then has to redo everything. And while he's crossing Lugunica, he's also moving around, meeting new people, gets killed by a couple thugs, just a bunch of random things. Just a lot of things happen to him. Dies multiple ways to like to another character, Elsa, and many different ways. But the biggest part is he ends up meeting our next main character, whom she, in one of his repeats, she calls herself Satella, when in fact this is our lovely half elf that you kind of end up liking but not really. It's a mixed situation. I'll have to say that I really don't like how I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. But Amelia is our girl here. She is like the end goal waifu for Natsuki, but the issue is the setup to get there is so long and drawn out that season 1 you'll probably be tired of the chase between Subaru and Amelia. But Amelia is our half elf who appears to look just like one of the witches, or the Witch of Envy, and she is most definitely stricken with just a lot of different things, a lot of different situations. And we do notice within the first season, she does make a lot of different drops to Subaru. letting him know that being in a company with her is going to bring him a lot of strife, a lot of issues of being an outcast, being treated differently. And that is like really the main focal point that we try to find out within season one is who is Amelia? What does she have to do with Lugunica? And then a lot of other underlying issues with the rest of the cast that we end up meeting. And before we even get too deep into that, we also have Subaru, who is pretty much still trying to understand what's happening to him when he dies. You know, he does find out about his return by death, but there's also like another little portion is he has the return by death mechanic, but he's also not allowed to tell anybody what is happening to him. Anytime he attempts to, he is then stricken with some type of it pretty much stops him and like almost tears parts of his soul away, to where he's not allowed to express that he's being like, you know, pretty much taken over at this point. It's out there. I'll have to say it's out there. It's one of those you got to already kind of be into this kind of thing. But nonetheless, it's a really good show. I have to definitely recommend it for sure, simply because of how expansive and how much depth that each character does have. But we end up also meeting a secondary set of cast that's kind of like you have the main cast, which is Amelia and Subaru, but then we have the second lineup, which will be our maids Ram, and of course follow with great spirits Puck and Beatrice, followed by Master Roswald. And this lineup is followed and of course we can include Puck with Amelia because he's the great spirit that's following Amelia for the time being. But the secondary lineup has such great depth and has a lot of pull within everything. And this is where things get even crazier. The Subaru meets even more distress and more dismay whenever he goes to the mansion, when he follows Amelia all the way there, and he ends up being greeted by the maids and Roswald. We see in season one so many deaths that he faced within the mansion stay. And I would really just like to call that the mansion arc. I don't even know like the arc names, but I'm gonna just call it the mansion arc. The mansion arc is crazy. It's wild. There's a lot of stuff going on with Subaru. Really doesn't have the grasp of his ability yet. He just knows he keeps dying in the most gruesome, craziest ways and is misled. And the biggest part is he's the only one that, of course, remembers these events, but he is then taken off guard by the fact that these people that are doing these things to him is completely just out of the way. It's completely out of the way, and he gets nervous and scared of these people eventually because he sees their intentions in a different timeline. You know, and it's very interesting. I can only imagine how it is that somebody gets over on me in this timeline. I die and get the reset before it happens, and then I just gotta look at them like, whoa, you're not my friend at some point if I do X, Y, Z. And that is what he ends up learning within the process, is that there's events or there's things he's doing that is out of line that ends up getting him killed. So every reset, he is starting to learn that he has to do different things. And of course, Mansion Arc, which is super wild, he ends up finding out how to really navigate and move around to get better results. And you end up seeing a lot, and it ends up being kind of sad because Subaru, just being such a young kid, he is getting punished with all these different deaths, by all these different people, by all these different entities. And he just doesn't know how to trust when it comes down to that. And that alone becomes a whole bleak, scary portion of the show. And that really mitigates him and his whininess overall, is because you see him as a character who is very loving, he tries so hard to try to appease everybody. And he's definitely a people pleaser and wants to do his best for anybody he can, especially Amelia, who he falls in love with instantly. And he just wants to do his best to make her happy and make her recognize who he is. And what's pretty much like a sad case scenario about this is that his deaths over and over, and nobody else knows what's going on but him. Yeah, he's like almost going insane and like just losing his sanity, trying to grasp on what's going on while also trying to stay alive while keeping everything else together. It's a cluster. It's a lot going on, and that's what I do like about the show. There's so much going on, but there's never a deviation from the plot, and that is what I like. There's no like too much a distraction from here that takes away from there. It does have you wanting to press the next button. You want to watch the next episode, which is perfect for me. I love it. Me and my daughter have been watching this for, I'd have to say, a solid month now, and it's been great. It's been great. We're all the way up to like season 3-ish, I want to say. There's also a movie, so be prepared for that review as well. But season 1 as a whole is magnificent. You know, you just meet so many different people. You also see a lot of the political powers that are going on there. You know, we do have Amelia, who is up for the royal selection, where she's facing off against other head matriarchs, right? I want to say that's right. I think that's right. Yeah. Other matriarchs who are trying to become the next ruler of Lugunica. It's big. It's big. There's a lot of conflict going on. And of course, with her being a half elf, looking like Satella, all that good stuff, there's a lot going on with that, because the people really don't like Amelia because of this. But the biggest thing about Amelia that we do find out is she has a very, very interesting dark past. And unfortunately, I will have to say that within this, if you are listening to this and you've gotten to this point, do not watch season 1 yet. Go watch the movie first, then watch season 1. Movie is a prequel, and it leads up and gets to where you need to be, to where you'll be ready for season 1. If you so desire to watch it season 1 then the movie, which Crunchyroll has it set up that way, it's perfectly fine, because the movie doesn't give too much away. It really doesn't. Like you can just tell it's a prequel, and it's really a side story where you find out a lot about Amelia's past and what happened before season 1 happened. So it is very important that if you care about chronological order, go watch the movie, then watch season 1, and you'll be lined up. There's no spoilers. I mean, you get to find out about Puck a little earlier, really. Like, it's kind of like what you find out. But there's nothing else that's just too dramatic that you're just like, oh, I needed to watch this movie so I can be ready for season 1. It's really just a chronological order kind of thing. But I can definitely say this is a must watch. I wouldn't even say it's a background noise one. This one you have to watch. There's so many different twists and plot changes that make you really think, like, God, these people really had some creative penmanship here. As a matter of fact, I'd have to say I can't wait to get done with it, and I just hope that there's more. Haven't done too much research within the ending portion. I've just been enjoying it as I make it through. but I just hope that is not done. But at the same time, once you get to where I'm at in the show, there's a lot of things that you're just like, okay, maybe I am kind of ready for it to be done, because you do lose a lot of pep. Like the last thing that I've seen, it makes it to where it kind of dies off, and it's just like, okay, where they're going to go with this so they can move it forward. But season one, a must. Watch it. You'll love it. There's nothing better than just being able to check out the world building within it. We also, within the political side, we end up seeing the differences in between character lifestyles and ranks and stuff. We end up meeting these different knights like Reinhardt. We also are faced with our thief, who ends up becoming a very interesting part of the story later. I can't recall her name right now, but she's a little thief, and it's bothering me that I cannot think of her name right now. But she ends up playing a major role later on in the show that just makes everything amazing. It makes everything amazing. You just like can't go wrong with how they presented. Oh, Felt. It's Felt. Oh, got it. I knew I was not going to forget that, but Felt. Felt is a very, very, very interesting individual who changes dynamically as well. And I say change meaning like her position in the political pool towards whatever is happening in the show. She changes drastically, and she ends up impacting everything a lot later as far as like her story. And we also see Subaru go through a lot of different emotional moods and pools and stuff. And there's a lot of points to where I won't say you'll cry, but I will say it ends up drawing you in to where you want to just feel how he feels. There's just a lot going on, and a lot of different decisions he's made or has to make that just puts a lot on the table to where you just want to understand. You want to understand what's going on in his head. Why doesn't anyone understand him, and what's going to happen next? This just can't be the end. And I like it. I like it. It makes you really get attached to our little whiny character. He's so whiny, but he's still well crafted with a lot of stuff. Of course, he's protected by plot armor for a lot of different things. I mean, this man has a whole cheat death mechanic going on about him. So that alone tells you that there's a lot of stuff going on with him, and he's able to really try to make the best of all situations. And if he doesn't, he has to take a death to get to the next part. Now, just to foreshadow some things, this cheat by death mechanic gets a really interesting overhaul of information, and exposition drops later on. So definitely keep watching the show, keep pushing. If you haven't watched it, I know I'm late to the party. ReZero has been out for a while. One of my brothers, my youngest brother, actually put this up to me a while back. I just never got to it because I was watching plenty of other things, and I'm glad I finally got to it. It is really good. Something on the side to check out. It's not nothing. It's not nothing that I'm not gonna say that you would cry over, that you wouldn't. You could go without watching, but it's just one of those. You'll love it. You'll love it. Like it's you'll just get brought into it, and you won't ever regret sitting down giving this your time. And I'd have to say it's a solid 8.5 out of 10. 8.5 out of 10. And I say that only because Subaru, main character, super whiny. I mean, he cries so much in the show. And you're just like, come on, man. You have to stop. You have to stop. And he's Sometimes his maybe it's because I'm watching the English dub, but sometimes his translations sometimes they don't add up to the mood. It's kind of odd sometimes, but it's still good. They also have a really interesting parts to where you end up. It's just an 8.5 out of 10. This is really the best I can give it. I would give it a 9, but 8.5 out of 10 sounds like that's where it could be. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't seen. There's a lot of stuff that I felt like they didn't wrap up so well with certain parts or certain things, especially once you get to like the movie in season 2. You'll start to see a lot more of not necessarily inconsistency, but like really the what binds everything together. Like what's going to hold or what's going to fall apart. You end up finding these kind of things out as you're watching the show, and you're just like, okay, well, this didn't hold or this didn't stick. Why? Where did this go? Why isn't this wrapped up here? You're always left with some kind of questions or corrections on what you get, what you got, and what you didn't get, right? And for the most part, it's still by far something great to watch. It's up there. It's up there, and you have a lot to watch, so that helps too. But I'll have to conclude that. Thank y'all so much for listening. I'm really only touch base on like main characters and whatnot. There's also plenty other that's part of the cast, but a season 1 review really I want to keep it within means of who we see the most within it, and that's really all that's the biggest thing that's really important, because if I go too deep, then of course that's just spoiling everything, and it'll just overflow to where subsequent episodes are really just going to be a full exposition drop where I just like tell everything, and sadly it's really not good for a review. Reviews, you kind of want to keep it light and make it to where somebody go watch it without feeling like they've watched it while listening. So I thank y'all so much for the continued support and the growth of this show. The show has grown like big, like astronomically big. We're still up in the top rankings on Apple Podcasts in animation and manga. I'm super excited. I'm super stoked about that. And I'm even more happy that I'm able to talk about what I like. And of course, it's never about the fame and the fortune. It's all about the connections, the big picture. And the big picture is just being able to enjoy what you do without any problems at all. So I thank y'all so much again. And y'all take it easy. And of course, we're always going to be ready for the next one.